It's been almost a month since PTE updated the test with 2 new question types, and now you might be wondering, is the test more difficult? Are templates still working? Should I continue studying for PTE? Let's talk about all of that in this PTE Update 2025. Let's go. Not really, let's stay here, but you know what I mean. Let's go. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Emilio. I am an English teacher who helps students pass IELTS and PTE. I am also a Spanish and English NATI certified translator. So if you're in Australia and you need a translation, get in touch. More than happy to help. Now, with all that said, let's first talk about the scores on PTE after the changes in the test. The scoring system in PTE has changed. Now it's not like it used to be. There are some questions that are still important, others that are not so important, and now we have to basically reassess our strategy. This is also a problem because this has made the test more difficult. That's right. I have seen this in both the real test and in mock tests. Now students, test takers, basically people are struggling to continue getting that high score that they used to get compared to how the test used to be. Meaning that now we need to be extra careful when it comes to our preparation. And that brings me to the second point that I want to talk about, which is templates. In my previous PTE update video that it's here on YouTube, I've left the link in the description for you to check it out if you haven't already. I said that the templates are going to be a bit of a challenge. Now, what I have noticed is that templates are not working as they used to, which makes sense because, again, remember that Pearson has been collecting data from test takers, from how people attempt the exam, and basically they're making the test more difficult. Especially in the speaking questions, if you say certain words, you are putting yourself at risk because the computer will significantly drop your score, and obviously you do not want that. So I recommend avoid templates both for the speaking section, for the listening section, for the summary question, and of course for writing, especially for writing, because not to give you a horror story, but I met a student, well, I've met actually many students who tell me this, but one in particular who said to me, Emilio, I want to see you because I'm struggling when it comes to writing an essay. I memorized the template, I went into the test, everyone around me was screaming, and then boom, I got super nervous. I don't know what happened. I forgot my template, and then, I have to do the test again. $450 down to the bin. We do not want that. So again, we have to be very, very careful, and I would say try not to use templates if possible. And look, for some of you that say that, no, Emilio, but the template works for me, it's all good. Let me tell you something. I keep getting people messaging me, asking me why their template is not working anymore. They try the templates in different platforms, they try the template in a mock test, and they're not getting the scores that they were getting before, or they're simply not getting a good score. And if you are one of those people watching thinking, why is my template not working? It is probably because of grammar and vocabulary, and ultimately there could be other things going wrong, but let me just summarize it into grammar and vocab. I'll probably make another video where I break down a template and I explain to all of you why you should not be relying on them too much, because they might be hurting you more than what you think. But again, I'll let you decide. But my take is no template, because if you have good English skills, you can just write an essay. You don't have to be like that student who forgot the template in the middle of the test and then boom, bye-bye, fail, do the test again. We don't want that. What we want is to feel somewhat comfortable with a bit of pressure, of course, but you can get to producing an essay without memorizing too many things. That is ultimately one of my goals. And if this sounds good, if you would like to study with me, you can check out my Patreon page. You can get in touch, because usually I do courses every month and we get together in class, we practice. But I'll tell you more about that when you get in touch. Let's look at the new challenges. The biggest challenges now remain what I mentioned in my previous video. So right now, the biggest challenges are note-taking, because now there are some questions, and this is in particular for the speaking section, that require us to be getting really good at note-taking so that we can get higher scores. These questions are retell lecture and summarize group discussion. That one in particular is challenging because we basically have, we have to listen for about 3 minutes to then give a 2-minute summary. I mean, I remember when students were telling me, Emilio, I hate the PTE speaking section, it is 40 seconds. And now imagine how some people will feel when they need to talk not 40 seconds, not 1 minute, but 2 minutes. Some students have already asked me, hey teacher, what happens if I speak a bit less? Will I get a better score? Can I still get a good score? Look, the answer is maybe, but I would not be risking that in the real exam. I cannot make a video on YouTube. I cannot come to my students and tell them, hey, try this, if I haven't tried it or if I have not done it. So I would not recommend, if the question says you should speak for 2 minutes, I would say always try to get as close as possible to those 2 minutes. And that is a challenge. So it is not only about note taking, but also speaking for longer periods of time. Speaking for long periods, or for longer periods, I should say. And then we come down to the next challenge, which has to do with writing. I told you a minute ago that a lot of people are relying on templates. So probably not only note taking, not only producing longer speaking text, but also writing. Because again, I think that the challenge is that people think that, oh, if you just go with a template, and the friend of a friend of a friend said to me that PTE is really easy, then they go, they do the test, they have the template, and then they fail, and they contact me. And I'm the guy taking care of them because they didn't pass the test. And then we have to go back and learn how to really write an essay. And this is just one of the many problems that PTE has. I think the other challenge is not only the writing section, but I would say lack of preparation. And basically, lack of preparation. Because now PTE, it's not what it used to be, in the sense that you could just go into the test. I know I mentioned it, but I'll give you a quick example. With the speaking section, before on describe image, you could say, I can see this, I can see that. For example, I can see whiteboard, I can see color blue, I can see PTE 2025 update, I can see this, I can see red, I can see, and I don't know, maybe you get 60 to 80. Now, if you do that, you will fail for sure, you know? So this is where I think PTE is becoming more difficult, where it is actually pushing up the bar and asking candidates to basically, you know, have better English skills when it comes into the test. Another challenge that has always been a challenge in PTE, but it is worth mentioning, has to be, you guessed it correctly, has to be grammar and vocabulary. Because if you didn't know already, well, of course you did, but I'll still have to tell you. PTE is an academic exam, so with vocabulary, you will be surprised how many times I am in class with students, and this is usually people that are told that PTE is easier than IELTS, and then they come to me, we practice in class, and then when we look at a reading text, I'm not going to tell you half of the words, but a good amount of words, they look at them for the first time with me in class. Imagine how many people going to the test having no idea what a word means. That is a big, big problem, because if you don't know what the word means, how do you expect to do well in the test? You're going to be just guessing. And it is what I tell my students in class. You're just going to be going to the casino. Let me just pick this in the PTE reading section because it sounds good. Or I don't know, I think this word goes here and I think this one goes here. And then let's start praying and see what happens. I don't want that person to be you, because if that is you, again, you are like gambling. Maybe, you know, maybe you do really well, or maybe, you know, you go home with a negative balance. And we don't want that, because the test is quite expensive, $450, $460 something dollars. And again, if you do that 3 times, you already spent $1,000. That's not you from now on. So lack of preparation, and also not having a strong and solid grammar and vocabulary base. These are some of the biggest updates that I wanted to tell you right now as of September 2025 for the PTE Academic test. Can you still pass it? Yes. Can you just go cruising, not worrying, just memorizing stuff like before? Maybe. I want to say no, but let's say maybe. There might be a few that still, you know, get across, they get their score, but it is definitely more difficult than before. If all of this sounds good to you and you are like, Emilio, I would like to practice with you, or I would like to know more about the test, I would like to know more about your preparation, I invite you to join me in my Patreon page, where we have videos where I talk about the exam, I show you what to do, I show you what not to do. We get a lot of practice, there are lots of extra materials, and again, it's just a cool way to practice all online. And I also offer courses. My next preparation course is going to be in September. In case you cannot make it, stay in touch, because I'm usually posting that on the channel, on Instagram. I'm going to be doing live streams on YouTube as well. So I'll probably see you on the next video. Maybe I'll see you on my Patreon page. Maybe I'll see you on a course. And thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to send this to your friend who is thinking of doing PTE, because this will help that candidate when it comes to deciding how to approach the exam. The final message is keep practicing, and remember, better English skills, better test score. Simple as that. Take care. I'll see you in the next video.